They say every girl dreams of wearing white on her wedding day. But I never believed I would. From the time I was 12, I carried a shame too heavy for my young shoulders. My body betrayed me, and no matter how hard I scrubbed, the foul smell never left. The woman said I was cursed, that I would never be loved. And when I wet my sleeping mat every night, their whispers turned into cruel laughter. Who would want such a girl? I wanted love, I wanted acceptance, but my fear was greater, that I was destined to die alone, mocked and forgotten. I tried to believe the gods had made a mistake, but the mirror told me otherwise. Every reflection was a reminder that I was unwanted. So when a man finally looked at me with kindness, my heart ached with both joy and suspicion. Was it real, or another cruel trick? I told myself that maybe, just maybe, I deserved happiness too. But deep inside, a voice whispered, "Love will never be enough to erase the curse you carry." And that voice nearly destroyed me. From the moment I could walk, I knew I was different. The other children in the village played freely under the sun, but I was always the shadow on the edge. They avoided me, whispering things they thought I couldn't hear. "She smells. She is cursed." No matter how many times I bathed in the river, the odor clung to me like a second skin. My mother scrubbed me with herbs until my skin burned, yet nothing changed. And at night, I carried another shame. I wet my mat, soaking it through, waking in tears before dawn. My father grew restless. "What kind of woman will she become?" he would mutter, shaking his head. Sometimes I wished the earth would swallow me, just to end the humiliation. I wanted friends, I wanted love, but I learned early to walk with my head bowed, to hide my face from the laughter of others. I told myself that perhaps the gods had forgotten me. Maybe I was meant to live and die alone. Still, a small part of me hoped that one day someone would see me not as a curse, but as a person. Cruel words can crush a spirit faster than any illness. How many silent battles do we overlook when we choose to mock instead of showing kindness? As I grew older, the whispers grew louder. Children no longer just avoided me, they threw stones, shouting, "Cursed one." Women covered their noses when I passed, and men laughed openly at my shame. No suitor ever came near. The thought of marriage, of children, felt like a cruel dream meant for other girls, not for me. Sometimes, I would sneak into the forest and cry beneath the tall Iroko tree. I would ask the gods, why me? Had I sinned before I was even born? My mother's eyes carried pity, but my father's only anger. "No man will ever want you," he told me one evening, his voice heavy with disappointment. Those words cut deeper than any knife. Yet even in my despair, I longed for someone to see beyond my weakness. I longed for a hand to hold mine, for eyes that would not turn away. My heart ached for love I had never known. One day, when I least expected it, someone spoke to me with gentleness instead of mockery. His name was Kola, a palm wine tapper. His smile was kind, his words tender. At first, I thought it was a cruel joke. But slowly, dangerously, I began to believe. A single act of kindness can awaken hope where only despair once lived. But is hope a blessing, or the beginning of another heartbreak? Kola was unlike anyone I had ever known. While the villagers turned their backs on me, he looked me in the eyes and spoke as if I mattered. The first time he greeted me under the mango tree, I froze. My heart pounded, certain he was mocking me. But when he asked how I was, his voice was warm, not cruel. At first, I avoided him, afraid it was a trick. But he kept coming back, bringing kola nuts or stories from the farm. Slowly, I allowed myself to believe him. He said I was strong. He said I had a good heart. He told me my pain had not destroyed me, it had shaped me. His words sank deep, watering the dry soil of my heart. Then one evening, as the sun bled red into the sky, he said the unthinkable, "I want to marry you." I stared at him, my lips trembling. Marriage. To me, the girl the whole village called cursed. My heart wanted to leap, but fear chained it down. What if he discovered the truth up close? What if he grew tired of the smell and the bedwetting? I wanted to believe in love, but a voice whispered, it cannot last. Love can plant seeds of courage, but fear can choke them before they grow. Should we trust love when the world says we are unworthy of it? When Kola announced his decision to marry me, the village exploded with laughter and scorn. Women shook their heads, men jeered, and children mocked him. He is blind, they said. How can he marry the cursed one? But none were louder than his own mother, Mrs. Kemi Fashola. You want to bring shame into my house, she screamed, slamming her pot so hard it cracked. A girl who smells like death. A girl who wets the bed. She will ruin you. I stood behind Kola, trembling. My heart begged him to change his mind so I wouldn't face more disgrace. But his eyes were steady. Mommy, he said firmly, I love her. And I will marry her, with or without your blessing. The elders tried to talk him out of it. Friends mocked him. But Kola's resolve never wavered. For the first time in my life, someone chose me, despite the shame that clung to me. Yet deep inside, I feared the day he would regret it. Love had blinded him now, but once he faced the full truth, would he still hold my hand? True love is tested not by easy days, but by storms. But how long can love withstand the weight of the world's scorn? The day of our wedding arrived, but it was no celebration. The village gathered not to bless us, but to gossip and sneer. I heard their whispers as I walked past. How will he survive the smell? The marriage will not last. Their words clung to me like thorns, but Kola's hand in mine gave me strength. I wore a simple lace gown, nothing grand, but to me, it felt like a crown. My heart pounded as the priest spoke the words that bound us. When Kola smiled at me, I almost believed I was no longer cursed. For the first time in my life, I felt seen, accepted. That night, he carried me into our new home. My heart fluttered with both fear and hope. But as soon as he drew close, the truth I had feared came alive. The stench grew unbearable in the silence of the room. I saw him flinch, his face tightening as if he could hardly breathe. And then, as if fate wanted to mock me further, I wet the bed before his very eyes. His silence was heavier than words. My chest tightened with dread. Would love survive this reality? Sometimes, truth breaks through the walls of love like fire through dry wood. When love faces its harshest test, will it burn away or endure? The morning after our wedding night, shame sat heavy in the air. Kola said little, but his silence was sharper than any insult. My heart pounded each time I looked at him, afraid to see regret in his eyes. I wanted to beg him not to leave me, but the words died on my lips. Then Mrs. Kemi Fashola stormed into our home, her face dark with triumph. How was your night? She asked with a cruel smile. Sweet, or should I say, sour with smell. Kola lowered his eyes, but his silence spoke volumes. Mrs. Kemi seized it like a weapon. I warned you, she shouted. This girl is cursed. She will never give you children. Send her back before it is too late. Her words pierced my chest. I stood in the corner, tears burning my face, wishing I could vanish into the earth. Kola clenched his fist, torn between his mother's voice and his own heart. Days turned into weeks, and the tension only grew heavier. The smell remained. The bedwetting continued. My husband tried to endure, but whispers followed him everywhere. Friends mocked him. His mother pressed harder each day. And I, broken inside, wondered how long before he gave up on me completely. A house divided between love and shame cannot stand for long. But when family and society pull love apart, whose voice should we truly follow? Mrs. Kemi Fashola was relentless. She wanted me gone, and she was ready to use any weapon. One evening, she went to Mrs. Bimbola, Kola's former lover, the woman the whole village once believed he would marry. Mrs. Bimbola was beautiful, graceful, and everything I was not. "You should have been the one to marry my son," Mrs. Kemi Fashola said bitterly. "Help me get rid of that cursed girl." Mrs. Bimbola smirked, her eyes glinting with mischief. "I know exactly what to do." The two of them began weaving lies, whispering to Kola that I was barren, that my condition meant I would never give him children. Their voices were like poison, slowly dripping into his ears. Each time he looked at me, I could see doubt clouding his eyes. I tried to hold on to hope, but the weight of shame was crushing me. At night, I cried silently, wishing my body were different, wishing I could prove to him I was not a curse. But no matter how much I prayed, the smell lingered, and the wetness betrayed me. Kola still loved me, but I could feel the fire between us dimming. And Mrs. Kemi Fashola and Mrs. Bimbola were determined to snuff it out completely. Jealous hearts often walk with bitter tongues to destroy what they cannot have. But why do we so easily believe lies over love? Just when I thought my life would collapse completely, hope appeared in the most unexpected way. A traveling doctor named Dr. Akemumi came to our village. He came to provide care for the sick, but when he heard whispers of my curse, his face hardened with disbelief. "Why does everyone say she is cursed?" he asked one of the nurses. "She smells," the nurse explained, lowering her voice. "And she wets the bed. People say no woman like that can bear children." Dr. Akemumi frowned. "That does not sound like a curse. It sounds like a sickness." His words lit a spark in my chest. Could it be true? Could I be sick, not cursed? For the first time, someone did not look at me with disgust, but with curiosity and care. He sought me out gently, speaking to me as if I was human, not a shame. With trembling hands, I agreed to let his nurse examine me. My heart raced, afraid of what they would find, afraid of hope itself. When the truth came, it shook me. I was not cursed. I was infected during a cruel traditional cut when I was a teenager. The wound never healed. That was the cause of everything. Ignorance creates curses where only sickness lives. But how many lives are destroyed before the truth finally speaks? Dr. Akinumi's words felt like rain on a land that had been dry for years. "You are not cursed," he told me softly. "You are sick. And sickness can be treated." My heart trembled. All my life, I had carried shame, thinking the gods had forsaken me. Yet here was a man telling me my burden had a cure. He gave me medicine, bitter, but I swallowed every dose with determination. His nurse visited often, checking my progress, encouraging me with gentle smiles. Slowly, I began to notice changes. The foul smell that had haunted me since childhood started to fade. For the first time, I woke up on a dry mat. I touched it again and again, hardly believing it. Each morning I felt lighter, freer, as though invisible chains were falling off me one by one. My reflection no longer made me weep. I began to stand straighter, to smile without fear. For the first time, I wondered, what if I am worthy of love after all? But while I embraced this new hope, Mrs. Kemi Fashola and Mrs. Bimbola spread darker rumors. They whispered that I was sneaking to see another man in secret, that my healing was the work of betrayal, not medicine. Truth heals, but lies spread faster than light. Why do people fear healing when it threatens the stories they built around us? As my body healed, I felt a strange mix of relief and fear. Each day I woke dry, smelled fresh, and felt stronger. For the first time, I began to believe in a future beyond shame. But Kola, he did not share my relief. He watched me closely, his eyes searching mine with something I couldn't name. Doubt. Confusion. Mrs. Kemi Fashola's poison had begun to take root. "Who is this doctor you spend so much time with?" he finally asked one evening, his voice low but tense. My heart skipped. I opened my mouth to explain, to tell him Dr. Akemumi was only helping me, that nothing more existed, but his face hardened before I could finish. "You've been sneaking away," he accused, and I felt a crack open inside me. I loved him, yet the weight of suspicion pulled us apart. I tried to smile, to show him my gratitude for standing by me when no one else would, but he turned away. I realized then that love alone cannot erase fear, and even the kindest heart can falter when doubt takes hold. Mrs. Kemi Fashola's whispers had become stronger than his own judgment, and I felt powerless to stop them. Love may survive trials, but doubt can poison even the strongest bonds. How often do we let suspicion shadow our hearts before seeking the truth? I could feel the change in Kola. The warmth in his eyes, the smiles he once gave freely, were now clouded with unease. Every time I mentioned Dr. Akemumi, he stiffened, and the words I spoke were questioned before they left my lips. I tried to explain, to remind him of the kindness he had shown me, but doubt had begun to grow like a weed in his heart. One evening, I caught him following me to the clinic. He hid behind a tree, watching me speak with Dr. Akemumi. My heart sank. He saw the compassion in the doctor's eyes, the gentle way he encouraged me. And I knew, in that instant, how easily fear could twist love into suspicion. When I returned home, Kola confronted me. "Tell me the truth," he demanded. "Do you love him?" His words cut deeper than any insult I had ever heard in the village. My chest tightened. I loved him, but I could not lie about my gratitude toward the man who had healed me. The night ended in silence, broken only by the sound of my tears. I realized then that love, no matter how true, cannot survive without trust. Even the strongest bond can fracture when fear and jealousy seep in. Trust is the foundation of love, yet doubt can crumble it faster than any curse. When jealousy whispers, do we listen, or choose faith in our hearts? That night, Kola's anger was like a storm I could not escape. His voice shook, not with hate, but with confusion and betrayal. "You love him," he spat, "don't you? That's why you've been hiding from me." I tried to reach for him, to explain, but he stepped back, his eyes dark with hurt. My hands trembled. "No. You are the one I love," I cried. "Dr. Akemumi helped me, yes, but my heart has always been yours." But my words fell on walls built by doubt. He turned away, storming out of the house, slamming the door so hard it rattled the windows. I fell to my knees, tears burning my face, knowing that his trust, the one thing I had hoped would anchor our love, had shattered in an instant. The next days were unbearable. I watched him drink palm wine at the bar, consumed by sadness and rage. Mrs. Kemi Fashola whispered from the shadows, feeding his anger, telling him I had never loved him, that I had always waited for someone better. Each lie was a blade, cutting deeper into his heart and mine. For the first time, I realized love alone cannot conquer fear, manipulation, or doubt. It must be defended, nurtured, and sometimes, even that is not enough. Love can be destroyed not by betrayal, but by the lies we allow into our hearts. How often do we lose what we cherish most because we doubt it? Kola's heart was clouded by lies and doubt. That night, fueled by palm wine and his mother's whispers, he made a decision he would regret forever. He confronted Mrs. Bimbala, the woman his mother had set against me, hoping for answers, but instead, he let anger guide him. "I trusted you," he spat at her, voice trembling. "You've been plotting against me, haven't you?" Mrs. Bimbala smirked, playing her part perfectly, weaving words that twisted truth into venom. I could feel it from a distance, my chest tightening, a premonition of disaster. Meanwhile, I remained unaware, believing Kola would come to me with the truth, that he would see reason. But by the time I returned home, the damage was done. Kola stormed past me without a glance, accusing me of betrayal. His voice, once a melody of love, now sounded like a hammer breaking everything we had built. I tried to speak, to reach him, but words were powerless against the storm raging in his heart. I watched him leave, consumed by regret too late, while Mrs. Kemi Fashola and Mrs. Bimbola reveled in their victory. That night, I understood a painful truth: love can survive hardship, shame, and illness, but it cannot survive mistrust when deception is planted in the heart. Sometimes the greatest enemy of love is not betrayal, but our own doubts. When fear blinds us, what precious moments do we lose forever? Days passed, and Kola's anger gave way to emptiness. The bar where he drowned his confusion became a prison of regret. Everywhere he looked, he saw reminders of what he had lost: my smile, my voice, the warmth of my hand in his. But I was gone, living under the care of Dr. Akinwumi, the man who had truly seen me, healed me, and now loved me without doubt. Mrs. Kemi Fashola noticed his restlessness and whispered even more poison. "She never loved you," she said. "She was waiting for someone better." He believed her at first, until fragments of truth began to pierce the lies. He remembered my tears, my words, my unwavering heart when no one else believed in me. And he realized, too late, that he had destroyed his own happiness. I, meanwhile, was rebuilding a life that Kola had once promised to protect. Each day with Dr. Akinwumi brought healing, joy, and acceptance I had never known. I no longer feared judgment or shame. My past seemed distant, like a nightmare fading with the dawn. Kola, however, was trapped by his own choices. He had loved me, but doubt had blinded him. And while I moved forward, he was left with nothing but the hollow echo of regret. Sometimes the heart recognizes love too late. Can we ever reclaim what is lost when suspicion leads us astray? Life with Dr. Akinwumi was nothing like the village I had known. For the first time, I woke each day feeling valued, respected, and loved. No whispers of shame followed me. No stares of disgust haunted my reflection. My body had healed, my spirit had healed, and for the first time, I could breathe freely. We moved to the city, where I helped in his clinic, caring for others who suffered as I once had. Patients smiled when I treated them. I saw hope returning in their eyes, and in mine. Every day, I learned to trust again, to believe in kindness, to accept love without fear. Dr. Akinwumi never doubted me, never mocked my past, never let shame cloud our bond. Yet even in this joy, the memories of Kola and the village lingered like shadows. I remembered the heartbreak, the doubts, the betrayal, but those shadows no longer held power over me. I was free, strong, loved. One evening, as we watched the sun dip behind the city skyline, Dr. Akinwumi took my hand. "You deserve happiness," he whispered. "And I want to give it to you, always." My tears fell, not from sorrow, but from gratitude and relief. At last, I could finally believe that I was worthy of love. True healing comes when love meets acceptance and respect. When we are finally valued, do we realize how much we once suffered in silence? Kola wandered through the village like a shadow of the man he once was. Everywhere he looked, he saw reminders of what he had lost. Shops, streets, and even the old mango tree where we had first spoken now felt empty and hollow. He had let fear and doubt replace trust, and in doing so, had driven away the one person who had loved him unconditionally. He visited Mrs. Kemi Fashola, hoping for comfort or guidance, but even she could not erase the truth from his heart. His decisions, fueled by jealousy and lies, had cost him the greatest love of his life. Meanwhile, I was building a new life with Dr. Akinwumi, strong, healed, and cherished. Every day, I woke with a sense of purpose, free from the shame and whispers that had once chained me. Kola realized too late that he had been tricked not by me, but by his own fears and the manipulations of others. The village, once so powerful in its judgment, now seemed small and meaningless compared to the life I was living. He watched me from afar one last time, whispering my name, but I did not turn. I had moved on, and he had only himself to blame. Choices rooted in fear and doubt can destroy the very happiness we seek. How often do we let insecurity steal what we truly love? The day of my wedding with Dr. Akemumi was radiant. I stood in a stunning gown, my heart full, my spirit unburdened. Gone were the whispers of shame, the fearful stares, and the endless nights of doubt. I had finally found the love I deserved, a love built on trust, respect, and acceptance. Friends and family who truly cared were there to celebrate, not the judgmental villagers or color-scheming mother. Dr. Akemumi held my hand, his eyes full of warmth and devotion. As we exchanged vows, I felt a joy deeper than anything I had ever known. The girl who had once been cast in the eyes of the village was gone, in her place stood a woman healed, strong, and cherished. From afar, Kola watched, realizing too late that fear and doubt had cost him the one person who had truly loved him. Mrs. Kemi Fashola's manipulations could no longer harm me. I was free. My life was my own, filled with purpose, love, and hope. As I danced that night, surrounded by those who celebrated my journey, I finally understood a truth I had carried through years of pain. Ignorance and superstition destroy more lives than any curse ever could. True happiness comes when we embrace healing, trust, and love, despite fear and lies. How often do we let superstition or doubt prevent us from finding the joy we deserve? Marie's journey shows that ignorance and superstition can destroy lives far more than any curse ever could. True love, acceptance, and understanding can heal even the deepest wounds. Those who judge without knowing the truth often lose what they most desire, while courage and resilience pave the way to happiness. She rose above shame, found her worth, and embraced a future full of hope. Sometimes, what others call a curse is simply a challenge we must face with patience and strength. Are we brave enough to see the truth and choose love over fear? The end. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Hit the notification bell to stay updated. Your support means everything to us.